All right.
Live studio audience.
Well, yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crossing the Streams.
Woo!
Yay. We don't have a guest today, but we do have our normal crew minus Ron, who might show up on Fireside. We're not sure about that, but he might be there. And so all extra exciting. It's just for Sal and Bob have new microphones. We'll see how that goes.
It's only taken a year.
It's only taken a year.
Christmas.
Let's get ready.
I'm sorry. No, the request for microphones was like a month ago. The request for a robust internet connection was a year ago.
Oh, I finally got my first check for doing this show. So.
What?
And what did you weren't supposed to tell Bob that.
You bastards.
Even though we don't have a guest, let's kick it off with the theme song. Bob, take it away.
Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Howard.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff, Ron, Sal, and Bob, and there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams.
Sal?
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we cross the streams.
Crushed it. We crossed the streams.
We cross the streams.
That's the
way we do it here. We cross the streams.
Did you notice something, or rather not notice something?
No.
There was no.
Yeah, it's true.
Are you bringing this back to our new microphones?
Yes, I believe he is.
Bob, mute yourself.
I'm sending mine back tomorrow morning. I'm sending it back.
I need to what?
Mute yourself on Fireside.
I am. How many times can I turn this thing off?
I got it. Never mind. You're good.
Mute.
You're good. All right, we got a great show. Welcome to Crossing the Streams. We're excited for everyone to be here who's listening in from across the world, where we rank number one in over 17,000 countries, 54 states, and 16 million cities across the world are tuning in to watch us, and they love us. So we're good. So this is the show where we talk about things that you should be watching. It's a great, fabulous time, and we do it every week. This is episode 54 of Crossing the Streams.
Give us a call. No big whoop.
No big whoop. There is 54 hours when this is over, waiting for you on the YouTube for you to watch all you want. If you're on Fireside and you want to join in on a conversation, raise your hand. Ron is on Fireside.
Ronnie.
Ron is on
there he is.
Yes. Let's bring Ron on and say if he can say hi.
Where's he at? A fudge shop in Mackinac? Where the hell is
this Baron von Lippy Pants?
Baron von Lippy Pants. And I invited him on stage, but he hasn't seemed to accept it.
All right. He's having technical difficulties.
There he is.
Ron, how are you?
He's at a fudge shop on Mackinac.
Ron,
I
can't hear you. Ron's muted.
I hear you. I hear the backdrop or the echo.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Ron,
Ron,
all the fudge.
I don't know.
It's all the fudge.
All right, well, thanks, Ron. Okay, anyway.
They still don't have a tower on Mackinac Island. They don't have a cell phone tower there yet.
We got an awesome show of recommendations for you today, but we do want to kind of, before we get into that, last week, episode 53, which you can watch on replay on Fireside or YouTube, we talked about holiday. Sal has a obsession with Christmas movies, which will continue today. We're looking forward to it. Ron covered Downton Abbey. He had to, a lot came out, so he would admit that he actually watched that show, and we appreciated him doing that. And then Bob warned you from Tenet. And then our guest, Allison, talked about The Way Down, which I ended up watching the preview for. And it looks kind of interesting, that whole thing. I don't know. Ron, can you talk to us or what's going on?
Can you hear me or no?
Yeah.
there you
there
are.
he is.
Hey, boys, what's happening?
Loud and clear.
Howdy.
It's
Welcome.
What do you
exciting.
got in those lippy
from,
pants?
Ron, did you watch?
North.
Ron, we were about to. I wanted to tease what we're going to talk about in a little bit, which is Red Notice, We Steal Secrets, the story of WikiLeaks, a California Christmas City Lights. It's not December on Crossing the Streams if Sal's not talking about a Christmas thing. And this is an extra special one because this is the sequel to one that he's already reviewed.
Yes.
And Howard's talking about The Cabin with Bert Kreischer. So we wanted to first talk about Hawkeye. This isn't an official review, but did you watch Hawkeye, Ron? Oh, he muted himself.
I did not. I have not watched Hawkeye. And I have to tell you, not only have I not watched any of the featured shows on episode 54, I've never even heard of any of these shows. So I will.
So this is going to be good for you to tune in.
Yeah, Ron's on via Fireside, which is totally fine.
I've heard of Hawkeye.
So
and they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Let's be honest. What are they going to do next? The janitor who cleans Avengers headquarters? I mean, that's more exciting to me than the guy who shoots the arrows.
They almost had a show like that, Ron, Bob. It was the cleanup crew. I don't remember what they're called, but there's a whole team that's in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah,
and there was going to be a whole show on it, but then another network beat them to it, a DC version. That was too similar, and
it was darker and less fun.
So the
DC version
doing it. Hawkeye. What do you think of Hawkeye?
Yeah, so Bob, I mean, I had that same thought going in, like, how are they going to carry a 6-episode series with him? I have to tell you, with the exception of WandaVision, which was so unique as a flat-out superhero show series, extended movie, basically, I thought it was great. I thought it was better, maybe, than any of the other miniseries in terms of character development. I thought the action, again, we talk about this all the time, how, you can't believe like what we're getting in a TV streaming series is beyond what action movies 10, 15 years ago.
That is true.
Jerry Bruckheimer would have gotten a Woody from the action in it. Spoiler alert, they
don't talk about anything that happened in the final episode.
No, I won't. But they
mute your televisions now.
They added a handful of characters who could very easily, who were heroes from the comic books or villains from the comic books, who could very easily now be amongst the next wave. I thought they did a really good job of backstory on some characters. Kate Bishop, who was really the main character along with Hawkeye in the show, they did a great job establishing her. They connected to canon, old and new alike. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised how well it was done. And I think it's a good setup for wave of future TV shows or even tied into the movies. What do you think, Jeff?
I thought it was interesting. I had this thought, and I was talking to our friend Dan Lippitt today, Ron, cousin, and I agree that I agree on this first watch, everything you kind of said, but when you kind of think back on this movie, and I hate to say it about Spider-Man No Way Home as well, is they're getting like just loose with everything. Like they're just, it's very easy how everything's happening, right? Like there's storytelling is made. There's nothing that they're not like taking the time to like do something. If this has to happen, it happens, and I don't want to get into any specifics because I don't want to ruin anything, but with Spider-Man No Way Home, which I know we're not really talking, I enjoyed it. It was great. It was epic. But when you think about it, there's like 10,000 things wrong with that movie in terms of plot holes and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, you know, I mean, when you start to think back of even like the rules that they set and breaking the rules and all that kind of things, like, you know, in the final episode, you know, there's a party, and then how did those LARPers all of a sudden they're waiters, and I mean, just like everything just so it's all just real simple, and but I mean, I enjoyed it, and if you watch the last episode of Hawkeye, stay to the end, the very end, because there is an end credit scene, which is amazing. It has nothing to do with anything. Though, of course, someone wrote an entire article about. I want to do a podcast, a video podcast, where we just make up things and then make a connection how it's to the bigger universe, and then how, of course, this is going to happen in the next movie because his outfit was green, which means the Hulk is coming. Yeah, I mean, like the way they tie things together is so ridiculous. But
is She-Hulk coming?
She-Hulk
is coming.
What is up with that? I'm just, you know what? I'm falling into the abyss. She-Hulk, stop!
It's like a full-time job keeping up. You know, they're making the other thing is they're making an
She-Hulk's been around for 40 plus years.
They almost made a She-Hulk TV show during the the Lou Ferrigno years, but the Echo, I guess they're making a TV show based on her. I found her to be the least compelling character.
She was a character in the movie.
You mean based on the device I have on my nightstand?
Yeah,
that's the next thing coming.
That would be. That might be more interesting. Anyway,
Bob, clearly, if you've ever seen the Saturday Night Live commercial for the Amazon Echo Silver for people.
Oh yeah, so good. So good.
Oh, Dessa.
Jerry brings up a good point. Jerry just wrote in, trailer for Doctor Strange came out today. So let me save everyone some time. If you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, after they do the first teaser, which is a villain teaser, okay, you'll know what I mean when you see it. And then you have to wait to the very end of the credits, which take another 20 minutes. It's the Doctor Strange 2 trailer. So you can save yourself now 15 minutes while you're at the movies. Wait for the first one. But once that one's done, the second one at the very, very, very end of the very long very long credits is just the Doctor 2 trailer, which
I'm turning 60 in like 4 months. I don't have time for these things anymore.
Sam Raimi did, he's a local boy. Sam Raimi did Doctor Strange 2. I don't know where all of a sudden they thought it was a good idea to make Doctor Strange the focus of the MCU. I like him, but I'm not overexcited about
well, isn't it because it's all dealing with the multiverse now?
I know, but I don't like when you get into magic, like the Shang-Chi or Shang-Chi show. Like, it was good, but it was like, I'm not into the whole magic stuff where they can fight a dragon and they just make up the rules because it's magic. They can just do whatever they want. Anyway, that's just me. It's getting exhausting. It's a full-time job watching. I mean, when I was talking to my buddy, we were talking about Spider-Man. You have to watch like 15 movies to understand everything, and like 15 plus movies to watch.
Yeah, but the other side of it is even the bad Marvel movies and the TV shows are just to me, they're so much more interesting than 2/3 of the dreck that's out there.
They are, Howard, and I know that I'm playing a bit of a contrarian here when I talk about Hawkeye, but they are entertaining. I just, I mean, it is kind of funny to me. I mean, well, it's not funny. There was some really negative press about Jeremy Renner before that series started. When was that? A month and a half ago? That his ex-wife had, said that he put a gun in his mouth. He was going to kill him. Some really dark stuff.
Yeah.
And, in divorce pleadings that were, filed 2 years ago. And one of the things that came out was that he had said that she was bragging to one of her friends, hey, I bagged an Avenger. And I thought, well, not really. I mean, he's only Hawkeye, but whatever. If that's what it was about,
Yeah,
that was a joke, people. This is, excuse me, time out. We're gonna
this thing on.
It was a good joke. All right, well, let's move on. I think we're good with that. I think Rosner has a rant.
I do.
I want to hear it.
So,
Give me a theme
you
song
know,
for that.
this is going to sound like it's delving towards the political, but it's not really delving towards the political. So bear with me for a second. You know, every once in a while, I'll read something one of my conservative friends posts about how the country's turning into a socialist nonsense country. They would never use that terminology if they spent 3 days, as I just did, proving that capitalism is thriving fully by vacationing in Orlando, Florida at Walt Disney World. There is no way to say the country's going socialist when Disney World exists. For those of you who have not been or haven't been since you were a child, let me explain to you the process. In advance, you go online and buy ridiculously expensive tickets to attend the park. Now, if you want to go to more than one of their parks, you need a higher level of expensive ticket. Okay, great. Then you go to the park. You pay another exorbitant sum to park at the park which you've paid a ridiculous sum to enter. Fair enough. You go in and then everything. Oh, if you want to go on the good rides, now they have a system where you pay a membership fee for something called Genie Plus, which allows you to pre-jump into faster wait time lines. However, not every ride is part of the Genie Plus. Some of them have a separate price that you have to pay $10 a person to jump into those lines. Okay, so that's just to get on the rides. Food, which is brilliant, it's delicious, it's top notch, through the roof. Then every ride you go on, of course, if you have kids, thank God, attending with the costs. This time I was not with a child, and my wife didn't care about souvenirs. But every ride you go on, you exit through a gift shop where everything is insanely priced. It is the textbook definition of capitalism. Here's an even better example of it from the folks at Disney. The ride, we were going right from the airport to one of the parks. My wife says to me, hey, let's stop off at the first CVS, Walgreens, whatever we see, to pick up some sunscreen and some water for the hotel room and things like that. There is not a retail store located between the airport and Disney in the 25-minute drive. Why? Because they don't want you buying any of those things from anybody other than them. It is a remarkable proof that capitalism is alive and well, and it's unbelievable. It's great.
Beautiful.
It's so much fun, but it is remarkable, the monopoly on wallets in that part of the country that they own. So anyway.
That's an excellent rant. I feel you on that. I've been down there with my family, Howard. You hit the nail on the head. And Jeff, you have an excellent joke about that. I want you to tell that joke right now.
I'm not telling that.
Come on, this is a funny joke. I love that joke.
The teacup, right?
Yeah. Come on.
Get in the goddamn teacup.
I'm embarrassed. I haven't done it in so long. I don't.
Classic.
No. I'm not doing my routine here. But I agree. I love Disney World, and I think it's the best way to spend money.
It's great.
I told this story on a podcast I was just on. I think I told it on mine too. Is after my dad died, we had got some money, and we were going to Disney World. So that was July, and then in January we were going to Disney World, and so I bought a VIP tour, and VIP tour is don't hate me, is $400 an hour, And I did it with my cousin. Okay. So it was up to 10 people. So we split it, right? But we did 14 hours, straight hours of this. Okay.
Jeez.
And so to give you an idea, we woke up in the morning, we went to Animal Kingdom. This is what I was telling you. This is where I got this from, Ross. We did the 2 Avatar rides. A park opened at 8. By 8:15, we were done and we were walking out of the Avatar ride. There were people in line that the estimated wait time was 4 hours.
Oh my
Half
Lord.
their day was going to be
Wow.
waiting for
That's
this one
insane.
ride that we just walked in and out of. I turned to my kids and I said, don't let anyone ever tell you that money can't buy happiness.
Yeah.
Important
so-
lesson.
My
I know
so
it's exorbitant, no letters, but like
Universal Studios, very similar. And Universal, you buy your ticket and you can go on the rides, or they have what's called an express pass, which is like an extra $160 a person for the day. I can't, like, my wife is frugal when it comes to things like this. She's very careful about money. God bless her. And she looked at me and she's like, how the hell would you come here without paying for the stupid express pass? Like, I mean, we went twice on one of the Harry Potter rides.
If you stay on the Universal property, you get that with the price of the hotel. But yeah, I agree. You can't do it without it. So, all right, let's.
Well, wait, hold on. Since you won't do the joke, and this is my favorite joke of yours, I'm going to paraphrase your jokes. All right, so this is I'm not going to remember all of it, but it's a great punchline. So this is Jeff's joke about bringing his family to Disney World. You know, for the first hour, you're like, oh my God, look, it's Cinderella's castle, it's Mickey, it's Goofy, oh look, isn't this wonderful? You know, hour 9, you're like, get in the goddamn teacups. I think that is a fantastic joke.
It is, but you know, I want to. So, all right, Roz, I know you were going to go first, but I'm going to have Sal go first so we can chill off the rant. So not too long ago, Sal did a California Christmas. And when we heard there was a sequel coming, and our excitement here at Crossing the Stream. So this is a sequel, a California Christmas, City Lights. So I'm excited to hear Sal's.
Yes, it is. This is, I had my pajamas on. I was drinking some wine.
White wine spritzer.
And I watched the California Christmas City Lights. If you remember, I forgot the exact episode, but like Jeff said, I reviewed California Christmas, the first one. And that episode's actually the most downloaded episode ever of Crossing the Streams. But anyway, if you remember my first review, California Christmas.
Who could forget your first review? But why don't you recap it just in case?
Well, if you remember my first review, real quick, this is the story of Callie and Joseph. Callie is she runs a farm like in Northern California, and Joseph is a city guy, LA city guy, and he goes up to and he meets Callie and he falls in love up there, and that was basically the first movie. So now you just see them kind of in part one, you just see them kind of fall in love or whatever, but you don't see the relationship. Well, now part 2, Joseph and Callie are kind of together now. They're planning a wedding, and he's up there working on the farm. He left the big city of LA to go help her on this farm. Excuse me. Well, what happens is the father passes away, and now there's some big paperwork for the company that needs to be signed by Joseph. So he's got to take off for the City Lights of LA. He brings her down there, and they have the wedding planned up in Northern California because they own a dairy farm and a wine vineyard. And so they're running that. Well, now they got to come back to the city. She goes with him, and all mayhem. You know how it is. They're planning the wedding. So now she meets like his old girlfriends because she comes down there. They start fighting over stuff like,
of course,
he's going to sign the paperwork and she gets all mad because he didn't tell her about signing the paperwork to run the company. He wanted to go over it with, he's supposed to go over it with her first because they're getting married now. So she leaves the meeting. She, one of those scenes where they're just not getting married. Now the wedding's off. You're like, oh my God. So then she has a daughter too. So he has some relationship stuff with his daughter. Anyway, they end up, she ends up realizing that, he's doing this. And then what happens is, long story short, I don't want to give too much away of this great holiday classic here.
I think you can give it all away.
But what happens is, so basically, you can see the gist of the movie. They leave the dairy farm to go back.
They leave the dairy farm
to sign this paperwork, and they get in a fight and everything. But then they kind of start to rekindle that, and then they work things out. She finds out that he wants to still do the company in LA, but he still wants to do the dairy farm and the vineyard. In the meantime, they've gotten some help on the dairy farm and the vineyard for one of the workers wants to get a piece of the action. So they're letting him invest in the dairy farm and the vineyard so that they can help run that. What's her name? Callie and Joseph can live down in LA
Thank
and
God.
run the father's company and still kind of have both lives. And that's kind of how it ends. They have a big wedding at the end, and it's a beautiful outdoor wedding. Now, these two are actually married. I said that in the first movie. This is Lauren Swickard and Josh Swickard, a very good-looking couple, beautiful couple. In the comedy business, as Bob knows, we would say something. No, that's a beautiful couple. I'd have sex with both of them. That's what we say on the stage. But I don't know if how it's working on StreamYard here. But anyway, I don't know if the joke comes across. Hopefully
it comes across. I left the dairy farm.
So anyway, they had this beautiful wedding. It's kind of crazy if you think about it. I was actually thinking about this. Like, this is a real live couple who sold this movie to Netflix, the first one. Now Netflix gave them a second one. They did that. They could have just filmed their actual wedding because it was a beautiful outdoor wedding. They could have just filmed that. And God bless this couple. They've made 2 Netflix movies.
Yeah.
They're okay. The first one I think was better than the second one. That's just me. But, some people think Rocky 1 was better than Rocky 2, But God, no, I can't compare this movie to Rocky. I apologize.
Oh, please, Sal, that's sacrilege. I'm dying over here.
All in all, it was
you left the dairy farm.
Very good movie. It was not as good as the first movie, but it sounds like Netflix said, "Hey, come up with another one this year," because that one was from 2020, the one that I reviewed last time. This is 2021. A Christmas City Lights. So maybe 2022, a California Christmas.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, Rob. And so anyway. I've done more for this movie franchise than anybody's ever done.
You really have, Sal.
So go see it. If you got Netflix, definitely watch it. That's it. Three.
How many tomatoes? Three
tomato sauce jars.
3 tomatoes.
I
want to say this.
The first one.
I want to say this of my show partner, Sal. Sal is universally loved in the comedy world as quite literally the nicest guy around. He never has a crossword for anyone. He never has any. There's no meanness to him at all. Not like me. I'm an asshole. And the fact that these, you're right. When you said you did more for these movies than any of their publicity team, they should be sending you residual checks on a daily basis.
I hope to get my California.
Who hurt you, Sal? Who hurt you?
I just think it's indicative of the kind of person you are, the guy I love.
I love Christmas romantic.
I know, and I just think it's great. It's innocent. It's fun.
Sal deserves his own Christmas, like California Christmas.
Let's write it.
Livonia Christmas. Arlington Hills Christmas. It's just me getting a bagel at Speedway or something.
Okay, why would you get a bagel at Speedway?
Because they're the only ones with cream cheese, Howard.
We do have a cream cheese shortage. But
yeah, there is. Can't make cream cheese. They'll pay you not to make something with cream cheese.
Yeah. They're paying you not to make cheesecake for Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, California Christmas, City Lights, or California Christmas, both on Netflix. Both probably will stream extra fast because you'll probably be the only one watching it. And tweet at Sal if you like it. Give us a hashtag.
Yes.
I watched California Christmas at Jeff Dwoskin Show, and let's see what's going on here. We can we can do this together. Those joining on Fireside, we are talking about Christmas, California Christmas, city lights, and now we're going to move on to the second show of our thing, which is Bob is going to talk about These Still Secrets, the story of WikiLeaks, the incredible true story from Academy Award winner Alex Gibney. This is the true story of WikiLeaks.
True story. Okay. There. Thank you for that segue and for that intro. There couldn't be a bigger what's the word dichotomy between shows. This frothy little Christmas concoction of Sal's just bubbly personality and to delve into the WikiLeaks. So let's see if I can make this entertaining. Julian Assange in the news again, which is sort of apropos. The British government has agreed to extradite him to the United States, which is essentially, I'm not going to say a death sentence for him, but for his freedom, because he's screwed. He's been hiding there for the better, like 10 years. 7 of them spent in the Ecuadorian embassy. I can't even imagine what that would be like. You could never leave. You couldn't even, I don't think he could even walk out on the steps. I think he could open a window, something like that, and wave to people. Pamela Anderson, a regular visitor there, which was really weird. I don't understand that, but whatever. Julian Assange, when I think of him, and over the last maybe 10 or 12 years since he became this really a newsworthy figure and a guy who dominated the news for several years, I wanted to get this question in my mind answered. Is he this freedom and truth-seeking sentinel, a guy who's, taking all the slings and arrows of all kinds of governments, but particularly the U.S. government, in the pursuit of truth when it comes to secrets that the government keeps, particularly during wartime. He rose to prominence, 10, 12 years ago by exposing on WikiLeaks some really bad things that were going on in Iraq. Some things that the U.S. government and particularly the Pentagon didn't want people to know about. And in doing that, now he had been doing that for a while in Australia. It's not like he just, hit the world stage 10 years ago. But in doing that, he ruffled all kinds of feathers across the world. And when you piss off the Pentagon, you really shit the bed. And he was the object of derision and scorn for years from them. Particularly after this fellow who later transitioned into a woman, Bradley Manning, who became Chelsea Manning several years ago. She did an enormous data dump on what was going on in Iraq, what was going on with some of the quote unquote targeted killings of Iraqi, not Iraqis, but let's say Al-Qaeda. And Al-Qaeda in Iraq, some foul-ups by the government and the military where civilians were killed, and they didn't want us to know about it for obvious reasons. Well, Julian Assange was more than happy to take this information and publicize it. And I started by saying that the central question I've had about Julian Assange all along is he the guy he says he is, which is a lover of truth and freedom? Or is he a muckraker? Is he a guy trying to stir the SHIT, as it were, and gain fame? Well, he's a little bit of both in this, and I have a conclusion at the end that I'll share with you. But there's a lot of ins and outs. This guy, WikiLeaks, you tend to think, okay, this is a very big organization to have essentially taken down the Pentagon in a number of areas. But as they explain in this documentary, it's really him. He's just a guy from Australia, sort of an outcast, a guy who never stayed in one town more than a year and never made any friends. He was, socially sort of inept. It was him and his laptop and 10 data sticks and a couple of other nerdy guys that made all this happen. It was amazing, the impact he had in the time that he had. And as you watch this, you would have the same question in your head. Is he the guy who he says he is and thinks he is? Or is he what the Pentagon and the government and even other people who don't have a vested interest in their secrets coming out call him an irresponsible cowboy journalist who got people killed? Well, here's what I came to. After reading about him for many years and then seeing this documentary, there was a moment where, and then this sealed it for me, my opinion of him. There was a moment where a reporter asks him, well, what do you think about the fact that you've exposed innocent people, not just American agents, not just people that are protecting American people, CIA, soldiers, all those kinds of people. But what do you think about the fact that a particular data dump that you did resulted in several Afghanis dying because they were working with U.S. intelligence? And his response was, well, if they were working with the U.S. intelligence, they deserve to die. That's a quote from him. And so my opinion of him was sealed in that moment. He is the guy that responsible journalists think of him. He is the guy that the Pentagon thinks of him. He is just a different side of the same coin. The Pentagon, we all know the collateral damage argument, right? Okay, well, we got this guy, this high-ranking Al-Qaeda official, but 18 civilians were killed. Okay, that's the math you do, or that's the math they do. He did his own math, and he said, okay, innocent Afghanis, because they worked with the U.S. government, if they died because of this data dump, they deserved it. So that's it. That's all I need to hear about Julian Assange. And whatever good he said he did, whatever good he supposed he did, and what other supporters he has, he's coming back to the United States. He's going to stand trial, and I hope they find him guilty.
When's the trial? When is his trial?
Well, it's coming soon. He hasn't been brought back here yet, but the British government has agreed to extradite him, and now they're saying he had a stroke in jail. Well, I'd have a stroke too if I was coming back to the United States after stirring the shit the way he did for the last decade or so. So, you can come to one of many conclusions at the end of this documentary, but that's the one I came to. He is the guy that he seeks to expose. He's just another side of the same coin.
I have not seen this documentary, but Alex Gibney did, amongst other documentaries, he did The Inventor, which is on HBO Max, which is about Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. That was really a major push towards, towards her going to trial, which is wrapping up right now. He did Going Clear on Scientology, which is a great documentary as well.
That was great.
Yeah, he did Enron, The Smartest Guys in the Room, which is a great documentary. I have not seen this, but I love his documentaries. I'll have to check it out. Where is this streaming, Bob?
It's on Netflix, and it's an excellent documentary. I was telling Jeff earlier that I had to finish up the last 40 minutes or so, and I was getting bored with it, but it really heated up in the end, and it puts a nice bow on things, but it does leave it to you to decide how you feel about the guy and his little organization that he had for a while. I mean, they're still around. They're still sort of doing what they did, but no, huge announcements like they had. I can't see that. Is that Lippy Pants?
He said Clicky Bob is better. It's interesting. I don't agree with how he did it, but it is scary all the things that get uncovered that are covered up.
Yeah.
I mean, like the DNC's manipulation of against Bernie Sanders, and that led to Hillary Clinton getting the nomination and all that kind of stuff. But but there's so much, and it's like and now that we live in a world where nobody believes anything,
Right.
Yeah.
it's even scarier.
Well, there's some yahoos down in Florida. I don't know if they're QAnon or not. It just came out today. They had a conference down there. This is a big, super secret kind of conspiracy conference. And they all came down with COVID, but they're claiming that it was a government plot that exposed them to anthrax.
They were blasting anthrax through the speakers. I saw that.
Of course.
You can't believe anything. I mean, look at the weirdos and the yahoos out there.
Right.
I don't know.
The only elections that are properly run are the one they win. All right, let's.
I just don't watch CNN these days. That's all I gotta say.
I don't watch anything.
Jesus Christ! What a joke.
I don't watch anything. All right, so let's. I'll go, Howard. I'll go.
Yeah.
All right, this is Red Notice. I'm going to talk about Red Notice, starring Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot, and Ryan Reynolds. So now, real quick, does everyone on this phone, Ron, you chime in too? Does everyone here have Netflix?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Who has seen Red Notice?
That's a no.
That's it.
Okay, so this is there's 5 of us that just answered. That means 20% of us have seen Red Notice. However, now keep in mind, I'm going to highly recommend this movie. However, also know, and I'll lead up front, the critics hated this movie. Okay, this was a blockbuster style movie. It was pitched as a blockbuster, sold as a blockbuster. Netflix bought it, put the money in, and just like any Netflix release that happens, where there's a big, to do, and then a week later nobody talks about it, which again is my reasoning why I don't like when they dump an entire season at one time. Okay, so Red Notice, for the 4 of you that did not watch it, is the most watched movie on Netflix of all time. 328 million viewing hours of this. Now, just to put that in perspective, the leader prior to this was Bird Box with 282 million.
Wow.
So Netflix claims that 50% of subscribers have watched Red Notice.
Wow.
Now, there's 5 people in this conversation that obviously, since we run a show about watching shows on network streamings like Netflix, we're like, I would put us at the high end of the people that watch at most things. And I am the only one that watched it, and I only watched it yesterday. Okay. Okay. So the other interesting thing is it took 18 days for Red Notice to hit those numbers. It took Bird Box 4 weeks.
Wow.
Crazy.
So
wow. I gotta see
it had 148 million of those 328 million hours were in the first week alone. Now,
So 328 million hours. It's a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, maybe 2.5 hours, maybe. Yeah.
So 160 million views. Is that what the math would work out to be?
Sure. I could buy that.
Okay.
So
Sorry to interrupt.
let me tell you what Red Notice is about. Red Notice stars Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson is a FBI profiler. Gal Gadot is a art thief named the Bishop. And Ryan Reynolds is also an art thief. Ryan Reynolds, each one of them plays exactly who you love about them in this movie. Red Notice, if you don't know what that phrase means, which I did not, and I'm assuming nobody does, but so they kindly put it on the screen in the first 5 minutes. Red Notice is the highest level warrant to hunt or capture a criminal, by like Interpol, right? So you have Rita Ora, who's the actress that plays the Interpol agent that is going after Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds, the backstory of the movie is that there's a very wealthy foreigner obsessed with Cleopatra, names his daughter Cleopatra. His daughter's getting married, and he is put out to the criminal world. If you bring me the three eggs of Cleopatra's eggs are like, if you picture like an egg the size of a kind of a footballish, maybe a little
Like the
smaller, but
Fabergé
just like
eggs.
gorgeous, worth probably billion, whatever. So if you bring me all three, but they know where one is. They kind of know where the second one is, but the third one hasn't been. No one knows where the third one is. It's never been seen in the thousands of in the millennia since they were lost from Cleopatra after Mark Antony gave it to them and they died together. So the interesting thing is they do this backstory so well about the Cleopatra's eggs that most people thought it was true, but it was completely fabricated. Okay. Anyway, so so if you picture Ryan Reynolds, first of all, I love all three of these actors. I think they're great. I love Dwayne Johnson, and he was who you want him to be in this movie. Gal Gadot was great. A lot of leg. Great. I can say that because my wife was more excited about it than I was. And then Ryan Reynolds is basically Deadpool without the costume in this movie. A lot of wisecracks, but he's hilarious, Ryan Reynolds. Okay. Now, if you read the critic reviews, they say that all three of them were horrible together. They had no chemistry, and it was just a waste of star power. Also, keep in mind, I watched this. I said yesterday, but it was probably this weekend. We watched it, and I consider this an enjoyable popcorn movie. I enjoyed every minute of it. It went by. I didn't fall asleep. It's a little Romancing the Stone. It's a little Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they are completely aware of the type of movie it is without it being a farce. Like there's a scene where Ryan Reynolds, of course, knows where the third egg is. So, they go to get it, and they walk into this warehouse that's basically the warehouse from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he's whistling the I can't do it, but he's whistling the Raiders theme. Okay. So they're aware of what's happening, of the parallels that they're doing. They're not breaking new ground, if you will. Okay. But I read that it would cost like $160 million to make, by the way, and only grossed $178 million. I don't know how you gross on.
Was it made for Netflix?
In the end, it was made by Netflix. It might have had a short theater release. That's, I think, the way they do it. But then it was mostly on Netflix. So I thought it had really great little zigs and zags, I'll call them. And I found it quite enjoyable. And they set it up for a sequel. And I'm ready to watch these three together. I thought Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds were great together. They spend most of the movie together trying to stop Gal Gadot's character or find her character. It kind of depends on what's happening and what's seen. Now, one of the other characters is like kind of a bad guy. He's kind of trying to find the eggs himself. Is Chris Diamantinopoulos. He was in, he probably does, I think he does a lot of voice work, but he was in Silicon Valley. He was like the D-bag investor, that was obsessed with the 3 Comma Club and stuff. He does a voice in this movie where I honestly, if I bumped into him and he goes, "Wasn't that voice amazing?" I'm like, you didn't know you were just imitating Dumbledore from Harry Potter? I'd be upset. I would be really upset if he really thought he was being real fancy with that voice.
Yeah.
But, look, Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it 36%, but the audience score was 92%. Okay.
Okay.
So just to kind of give you an idea, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie a lot. And I get bored with movies. If I'm laying on the couch, there's a good chance I zonk 30 minutes from it, that kind of thing. I enjoyed this movie a lot. In terms of popcorn movies, don't go into it thinking it's like the greatest thing ever. But I was doing some reading after, and it is weird. Here's this huge movie that had 3 of the biggest stars right now, right? I mean, Dwayne Johnson is huge. Ryan Reynolds is, I mean, besides being huge, is just like
he's the God particle. He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. Yeah. He's just everything pop culture is Ryan Reynolds these days. And Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, she's at the top of her career as well, right? And nobody talks about this movie. None of you had seen it. I hadn't even seen it. I may not have even watched it, but in the back of my head, I wanted to at some point. But it's just weird. It's like this weird Netflix effect where things they come and they go, and like this should have been something that probably people were aware of or excited about or enjoyed.
I don't hear anybody talk about it. I don't hear any viral stuff about it.
You know what it reminds me of? Back in the 80s, you would have, and I haven't talked about boxing for a while, so you can't, Anyway, back in the 80s, you could turn on CBS at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and watch a title fight. You could watch Boom Boom Mancini and Bobby Chacon. And nobody remembers the result of that fight because it wasn't a pay-per-view, right? It was just there, and it was like, well, did you see it? Well, I think I saw it. Everybody remembers seeing the big pay-per-views because you had to go to a theater to see it, right? But there were great bouts that happened sort of under the radar because they weren't in a movie theater,
right? And then Golden Owl says he was turned off by the voiceover guy, and I will say, don't take this movie seriously at all. Okay,
hey Jeff,
just go in to enjoy it.
Why do you think it is, with so much invested into this movie, that none of us are getting this served up in the algorithm? Like, why wouldn't this be on the home screen every time I log into Netflix?
It was for a while.
Because it's because you don't watch anything that is in English.
Right. Yeah. This didn't happen for real. It's not a documentary, and no cults were involved. So I don't know. I don't know why you can get it wrong. But it probably was for a while, but then they just move on to the next thing. And it's like there's something about like a movie like Spider-Man right now where it's just taking over the world, but it's everywhere. It's the whole world. It's not just funneled through Netflix, but well, anyway, I recommend it. But don't take it seriously if you're going to say don't do a movie thesis on this movie.
I'm going to watch it tomorrow, Jeff, based on your recommendation.
Just kind of enjoy it, and then we'll go on to the next thing. Roz, we'll move on to you. Take your time, Roz.
Yeah. No. It's a relatively quick one.
Okay. All right.
So,
Oh wait, hang on.
Cabin.
Yeah.
The Cabin.
Let me do this. All right.
Yeah.
Right now we're going to talk about The Cabin with Bert Kreischer.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know who Bert is the Machine. Is his famous routine. He's a stand-up comic. He takes his shirt off at the beginning of every one of his specials. I think as a stand-up, he's really good. Not as traditional. I think he's just a great storyteller, and colors the story as well. The Machine story, which actually they just finished wrapping the Machine story, basically with he's playing himself and Mark Hamill is playing his dad in the movie. So that'll be out this year somewhere in 2022 sometime. Anyways, normally I don't like this type of show because I can't stand what is essentially scripted reality, right? I hate it. It's like if I want to watch fiction, I'll watch fiction. I don't want to watch something that I know is fake. And this is kind of set up that way. The gist of it is he does so much with his life. He does stand-up. He does his podcasts. He does so much that his wife told him to go away to have some alone time. So he rented a cabin in the woods in the hills in California. But because he couldn't be alone with himself, he invited friends to come up and see him. Obviously, that's scripted. It's not the case. But the two things that make it so every episode he has a different group of friends. The first episode is Tom Segura, who's a great stand-up, and his best buddy. They do a podcast together, and Joey Diaz, who's also a hysterical stand-up. Another episode has got Nikki Glaser and Caitlyn Jenner. Another episode has got Kaylee Cuoco, Joel McHale, and Miss Pat, the comic. Then he's got Anthony Anderson, Dion Cole, and Big J Okerson. And then the final episode is Bobby Lee and Donnell Rawlings, I think.
Bobby Lee. Wow, he's thankful for that role.
Yeah,
Bobby Lee's in the new Bobby Lee's in the new Sex and the City reboot. I worked with Bobby.
He is.
I did one show with him once. It's crazy.
Yeah. So the gist of the show, like I said, is his friends are coming up to enjoy some spirituality and Zen. So every episode they have some activities that he has planned, like axe throwing, rolfing, beekeeping, and some
beekeeping.
Some comedy ensues from that. So it's kind of cheesy, but there are, in every one of the episodes, there are some poignant moments which clearly weren't scripted. Like the episode with Caitlyn Jenner and Nikki Glaser, Bert talks about how his dad, who was a huge track and field guy, loved and idolized Bruce Jenner. And he says, would it be okay if we called my dad right now? So they call his dad on cell, and his dad just is so praiseworthy for him and what he meant to him. And it's funny and it's nice. And then they hang up, and Bert is literally in tears because he says, I've never heard my father talk that way to anybody. And you're like, wow, that was a spiritual moment for Bert. There's some other things, like Miss Pat is a train wreck. She's crazy, and she tells Kaylee Cuoco, who the fuck would watch that show about Big Bang Theory? But then there's some moments where she talks about her life and just how she survived, and again, there's just some amongst the craziness, there's some good moments. It is a super easy show. You'll finish the 5 episodes, they're 23, 24 minutes, whatever it is. You'll sit down and watch them all the way through. It's not earth shattering. It's not mind blowing. It's not informative.
It's not informative.
No, it's not. It's not. But it is worthwhile anyway. But it's really entertaining. It's one that you don't have to be locked into with your eyes on the screen the entire time. But there are some moments, if you do that, where you're like, wait, what the hell did they just say? Where you'll have to rewind to hear that. But it's really entertaining. I really recommend it. I love Bert. I follow him on social media. I think he's hysterical. I think he's really honest.
He's an excellent comedian. I like him.
Yeah, he's good. He's not like Tom Segura. Like I said, his buddy is, I think, a better joke writer, a more traditional joke punchline. Bert is far more storytelling, but he's a great storyteller. The Machine Story, if you've never seen it, Google it. It's about how he got involved with the Russian mob one summer in college. Bert, by the way, is Ryan Reynolds trivia. Bert is considered the loose basis for the Van Wilder character, because when he was in Florida State, Bert was voted the biggest partier in America at Florida State.
Wow.
So he's loosely considered the basis to Van Wilder. So yeah, it's Netflix. It's really easy to watch.
I'll check that out.
I like it. It's a good recommendation for me.
Cool.
All right. I'm convinced.
I'm convinced.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, I will too, man.
That was good. Well, this was fun, and we had Ron on
fun.
Fireside, so that's an extra bonus of the Fireside app. When our folks are remote, they can join in. How was the Fireside experience, Ron?
Yeah, you know what? Worked out really well. And I hear you guys loud and clear, and hopefully you guys can hear me well too. This is a great show, guys. Excited to be part of it via Fireside.
Did Ron
awesome.
not hear me? Did he not hear me? I'm just kidding, Ron. No, it's so cool. All right, very good. All right, well, this was a good show. Nay, great show. I mean, how could it not be with a California Christmas, City Lights, We Still Secrets, the story of WikiLeaks, Red Notice, and The Cabin. It was, I'd say, one of the best shows we've ever done, ever.
54.
This week, at least.
This week's best show ever. Happy holidays to everybody.
Jerry, happy holidays.
We appreciate all of you for coming back.
Happy holidays, boys.
We love doing it.
Happy holidays
Sal,
to you,
say
man.
goodnight,
Merry
man.
Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. Good night.
Well said. Bob.
What Sal said.
You want to talk about your podcast for half a second?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Sal and Bob show.
Listen to the Sal and Bob show on iTunes and Stitcher and Pandora and all those platforms. And check us out every month at Genetti's Hole in the Wall Theater in Northville, Michigan. Next show, January 20th.
January 20th.
I feel like that should be the next Kevin Smith movie. It should be Jay and Sal and Bob instead of Sal.
Yes.
And you can check me out at the Jeff Dwoskin Show live from Detroit. And there's our logos. You can find us on any.
Very nice logos.
App. Brand new logo.
Nice logo.
Nice logo. I like it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. All right. Well, we'll see you next Wednesday.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
We'll see you next Wednesday.
29th, December 29th.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a great one.
Merry Christmas.
See you guys.
Merry Christmas.
Peace out.
See you next time.
Happy
And that has
Easter.
been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow the Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff Dwoskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us. Listen to our podcasts live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show, the Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.